Human civilization flourished in times and places where sound money was widely adopted, while unsound money all too frequently coincided with civilizational decline and societal collapse. Saifeddin Ammous. This is Citadelium, episode 14, and I'm your host, Yuri Degaya. Today I want to talk about Bitcoin, and obviously it has been getting attention from many eyes all over the world over the past few weeks because it's pumping again. And of course, the euphoria is there, and everybody's happy about the so-called number go up technology. Essentially, we are seeing the start of a new bull market, and we're getting close to the all-time high of the previous cycle, which was at the end of 2017. That was the top pretty much. That was close to 20,000, and which was followed by a prolonged bear market. So I want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin from the point of view of what it provides to us, people who want to actually see the future of thousands and thousands of citadels spring up. Why is it so important to us? As a matter of fact, I want to argue that Bitcoin is the tool that allows such a future to actually be realistic. As you remember, I mentioned in some episodes that were it not for Bitcoin today, probably the future would be a little more bleak, and we would be all a little less optimistic than we are today. Bitcoin really gives us this fighting chance against the parasites of the world, against the globalist elites or whatever you want to call them, but it essentially gives back the power that was taken from us, as a result of a centuries-old effort. And this power has to do with the right to private property. I mentioned before that the right to private property is essentially the only right that actually matters. And all the other human rights, so-called human rights, that are not really natural, they don't really exist. And they all stem from the right to private property. So Bitcoin brings back the right to private property, and this is how it does it. If you're not into Bitcoin yet, I highly suggest that you actually learn about Bitcoin and get into it as soon as possible, because this may be the single most important invention of the 21st century, and the single most important investment of our lifetime. And a lot of people don't actually call it investment. It's more of a hedge or savings technology, so to speak. A hedge in terms of hedging against the global financial system as we know it. And as we know it, it is actually quite fraudulent, and it was built upon very fraudulent foundations, and that includes the central banking system that we have in pretty much all the countries in the world, and also the international banking organizations that are essentially comprised of unelected individuals that pretty much manage the world economy and manage the way money flows happen in the world, and they manage monetary policies of other countries. So what Bitcoin fights essentially is the attempt by these parasitic elites to take away your right to private property. And money is essentially the lifeblood of any economy, right? Because barter is usually very inefficient, so there has to be some kind of a medium of exchange, and money is essential in any economy that actually wants to scale, that wants to be more alive. So when they realized that they decided that we will take away this most important part of the economy from the people's hands. We will manage it fully for them, and this is why the one of the goals of the Great Reset is to make all money digital, to abolish cash absolutely, and to issue these so-called CBDCs, central bank digital currencies that will be fully controlled by the central bank, which will allow them to monitor you completely, where your money goes, how much you earn, whom you pay, from whom you receive the money, and essentially absolutely anything that has to do with monetary transactions. So if you imagine that someone has such a power, they can obviously abuse it, and they will abuse it. What can be done will be done, and this leads to quite a horrific future, if you ask me. So what Bitcoin provides is a medium, is not just a medium of exchange, but also a store of value that is not in the hands of these parasitic elites. What it provides you with is a tool to keep what you earn as yours, right? The reason for that is that Bitcoin is not controlled by any central authority, by any central government or any central bank or any international banking organizations such as the World Bank or the IMF or the BIS. What Bitcoin gives you is the power to fully control your own monetary wealth. And obviously, with great power comes great responsibilities. So essentially, you become your own bank, and if you are your own bank, it's not much different from keeping cash under the mattress or storing gold in a safe at home. However, the nature of Bitcoin is such that it's a digital gold, or gold 2.0, and that means that it's actually not physical. And because it's not physical, it's a lot more difficult to confiscate or to steal from you, right? What you have as a Bitcoin is not actual coins, it's more of a private key that you store on a piece of paper, on an electronic device. I'm not giving you a primer on custody solutions here. You can learn all that. This is not even a primer on Bitcoin itself. It's more about why we actually need Bitcoin to build citadels, right? So this ability to keep what you earn, to not let anybody to take it away from you, gives you a lot of power, because now you can say no to certain things, right? You can say, well, I'm not happy with the situation. I'm not happy with where things are going. I'm not happy to be held hostage of the financial system, and if there's some kind of a payment or some kind of a Facebook post that I did that the central authorities didn't like, they can actually suspend my bank account. And if my bank account is fully digital, and all my livelihood is pretty much suspended, I can't go grocery shopping, I can't go get some gas for my car, or charge it with electricity. With Bitcoin, this pretty much disappears, and the reason for that is that Bitcoin is getting more and more popular in all kinds of circles as a hedge against this kind of tyranny, monetary tyranny. So, and you don't only see that in in some nerd circles. Right now, there is more and more people who are quite famous, I guess, or wealthy, who recognize the value proposition of a digital store of value that cannot be confiscated, that cannot be fringed upon. So people like Michael Saylor from a company called MicroStrategy, and there are many other people who are getting on board. Just recently, the second richest man in Mexico announced that 10% of his liquid wealth is now in Bitcoin. I think that says something, because if I've been in Bitcoin for several years now, and I remember quite well that years ago, people were people didn't mince words, and they called me outright stupid for doing this, right? Uh, and at that time, I may have been a bit more stupid anyway, but right now I know a lot more. I'm more experienced as well. And uh, right now, I don't really get any such insults anymore. However, of course, you go on the internet, there's always people who disagree with it, especially people who have interests in the current fiat system and in the upcoming global financial system that will be, implemented after the Great Reset. They will always criticize Bitcoin. Bitcoin will never be good for them because it goes completely against what they believe in. It goes against everything they know about economics, which they don't know actually that much. And there will be a fight for the future. So what Bitcoin provides is a very, very different alternative that you can use to actually survive in this future that's coming. So the world of citadels will need Bitcoin because, as you can imagine, the world of citadels is essentially a parallel world. It is a world full of parallel societies that I talked about last week. And in order for us to make sure that such parallel societies appear, we definitely need funding. We do need human capital. We need some, artistic input. We need some brain power, but we also need capital. And if the central banks control all the money flows in the world, you can rest assured that they will never allow such a thing to appear in the world because they don't want competition. Obviously, they don't want to be challenged. So we need a medium of exchange that is completely separate, completely that runs in parallel to what will be established after the Great Reset. And Bitcoin is that thing. It allows us to essentially not follow the rules and edicts of these parasitic elites and allows us to build a better or as much as we believe a better model for ourselves. And this is what this show is about as well, right? Because we essentially believe that the better things are not necessarily all new and based on new technology, Bitcoin being one of the exceptions. A lot of the things that are actually better can be taken from the past. They are things that possess this Lindy effect, the so-called Lindy effect, something that has been around for thousands of years, will probably last for some other thousands of years. Bitcoin gives us the right to private property. We take back the right to private property, and with that in mind, we start building everything else. So, as you can see, the argument for Bitcoin here is very simple. You either want to be completely under the control of the new parasitic financial system and not be able to do anything that they do not like with your money, or you can opt out of it, or you can opt out partially or fully, and you can do some things that they don't like without without them knowing about it, right? So that's what Bitcoin does. I believe it's an extremely strong tool. It is, as I like to say, the light at the end of the tunnel for us. And I highly recommend that if you have not yet dipped your toes in Bitcoin, don't just dip your toes, just dive full body, go and swim in it, learn all the information. There's thousands and thousands of articles about it already. There's lots of great podcasts, there's lots of great books on Bitcoin already. Learn it, and this will be very, very essential for you if you want to start building your own citadel. What else does Bitcoin provide to you? Well, of course, Bitcoin provides you with personal sovereignty. Sovereignty is an extremely important concept when we talk about citadels, because citadels are or aim to be sovereign entities. Whether you're building a city-state or some kind of a village or town, you want to be as sovereign as possible. And what does sovereignty mean? Well, sovereignty means that you are as independent as possible. Right now, I guess the concept of sovereignty mostly refers to nation states, and we have close to 200 nation states in the world, but a lot of them are called sovereign only in theory. I think a lot of the nation states in today's world are not extremely sovereign. They are half sovereign or not sovereign at all because they depend on other countries. Literally, they depend to survive because of other countries, or not other countries, but the international financial organizations and banking organizations. For example, a lot of the financial systems and monetary systems of developing nations and third world countries are pegged to the financial system of the United States of America. Their currencies are literally pegged to the United States dollar. For example, in Russia, the ruble is issued against the reserves of the United States dollar that the Central Bank of Russia has. And how does the Russia prove that they have reserves of these U.S. dollars, and how do they make sure that they do not issue more rubles than they can? Well, they don't even store the United States dollars. The balances are stored in an international organization, in the bank account of that international bank. Essentially, they are not even they don't even have a sovereign financial system. And this is why there have been tensions between Russia and the other Western countries, because Russia is trying to decouple from that dependency on the American dollar, and that's why you can see that Russia is building alliances in mostly in the East. In Asia, right, with China and other countries, because they kind of want to decouple from it, and they see that the United States dollar is getting really, really crazy. There's the reports right now that the United States have printed an unimaginable amount of dollars just in under 1 year, a lot more than in the previous many years. I don't have the concrete figures right now, but I don't have to have them. What I'm saying is that what we're probably seeing is a death spiral that the United States dollar is going into, and a lot of countries will have to decouple from it or follow with it. And I think that's what the Great Reset is about, because they completely understand that the fraudulent system that they set up, the fiat system, is going to an end, and they need some kind of an event or some kind of a crisis to essentially blame the end of that system on this event, and then use it as an opportunity to do a so-called reset and establish a new monetary system that will be obviously even more fraudulent and even more tyrannical. So Bitcoin gives you a chance to get out of the system, and by providing you with this sovereignty, individual sovereignty, you can use that sovereignty to make your own decisions independently, right? So I was talking about how these countries are not really sovereign entities, right? But this is what we understand under sovereignty today. But I believe that sovereignty actually starts with the individual. If you haven't read the book The Sovereign Individual, I highly recommend it. It's probably one of the most important books that you can also read. Should be on your bookshelf. Go ahead and read it. But it explains a lot of how the individual will become sovereign in the coming decades, and that that book actually predicted the appearance of something like Bitcoin, a digital cryptographic currency that is not controlled by any nation state, and that can give sovereignty, monetary sovereignty, to the individual. And from the individual, then this sovereignty can grow outwards. Obviously, if you have a family, then your family becomes sovereign because your whole family embraces the concept of financial sovereignty, Bitcoin, and then it is in your best interest to so-called orange pill, which means to promote Bitcoin, to indoctrinate your community with Bitcoin. And we'll make sure that they also learn how to use it and start using it among themselves, right? And then you grow up and up and up, and then suddenly you find that a lot of people become become sovereign individuals. They form sovereign communities. So this boils down to making sovereignty more local than what it is right now. As I mentioned, right now sovereignty is mostly reserved for nation states, or some exceptions like the Sovereign Order of Malta, which is really not a country but an order, which has its own passports and is considered a sovereign entity in the United Nations and recognized by many countries as well. But I think our goal is to essentially create many such sovereign orders, many such sovereign city-states like Singapore or Hong Kong, maybe not Hong Kong anymore, but Liechtenstein is a great example that I particularly love because of how the governance works in that particular location, which is a constitutional monarchy. So Bitcoin provides you with a very, very powerful tool. Again, I can't stress enough that you have to look at it. At the same time, right now is a great time to look at it because we're entering in this bull market. It's gonna attract a lot of eyes. It's gonna attract a lot of attention. Just remember that the price, while it is important, it's not as extremely important as what it gives you in terms of financial sovereignty. And maybe you're not one of the people who cares about such things, and you're one of the majority who mostly care about multiplying their wealth and basically treat it as an investment. I don't think it matters much. A lot of people who came into Bitcoin simply for the gains, they actually stayed because they studied the technology and studied what's behind Bitcoin for a little bit, and they were really orange pilled, and they decided to stay in Bitcoin and not exit it at all. They decided to hold it until the world fully switches to Bitcoin, or half the world switches to Bitcoin, so that they don't have to sell it in the future at all. They will be able to exchange Bitcoin for goods and services, and that's the ultimate goal here. The ultimate goal is to have a completely parallel economy spring up that is fully Bitcoin based, in which you can engage in trade using Bitcoin and nothing else. So this gives us a great opportunity, and right now I think is high time something like this appeared. I'm glad that it's here, and I hope that you can become part of it. So if you want to learn more about it, go to bitcoin.org and learn about Bitcoin, listen to podcasts, and this is it for this episode. I hope to see you next week, and until next time.